Welcome to 9.6 Math Moment. Today students compared and ordered rational numbers on a number line and also just by themselves, just looking at rational numbers and also other integers and decimals and comparing them together. So we're going to look at a couple of different examples. Example 1 says to compare using greater than, less than, or equal to. And we have an example of a number line here that's going from -1 to +1 with different rational numbers in between. So we've got fractions up on top, we've got some decimals down here, and then here is our 0 in the center. All right, so that'll be a nice visual to help us as we're answering some of these questions. The first one says -1 compared to 25 hundredths. Well, right away, the first thing that we tell students to look for is a positive or a negative. So if you have a number that is positive versus a number that is negative, then the positive number is always going to be greater than. So in this case, I don't have to do a lot of thinking about it. If I've got just a number that's negative and a number that's positive, the positive number is going to be greater. But I can go ahead and look at these two examples on the number line to make sure that is correct. So here is 0 and 25 hundredths. Here's my -1. 0 and 25 hundredths is definitely greater because when we move this direction on the number line, we are getting greater or larger. When we move this direction on the number line, we are getting smaller. So that, I feel confident in that answer by looking at the number line. The next one says the absolute value of -1/3 compared to -75 hundredths. Now, absolute value, all it means when you see these two lines around a number is it means how far away is this number from 0. So whether it's negative, whether it's positive, how far away is it from 0? That's all absolute value means. So -1/3, when I think just about how far away that is from 0, it's just 1/3 away from 0. So if there is a negative number inside an absolute value, it really turns into a positive number because I'm really looking at its distance from 0. And its distance from 0 is just 1/3. Positive or negative, it's just 1/3. All right. If you have an example with a positive number inside the absolute value line, it again would stay positive. So that's just something to think about. So now I have 1/3 and -75 hundredths. So I would be able to not have to think about that very much because I'm able to see that this is now positive because of those absolute value lines. This becomes a positive number, and so it is automatically larger than 75 hundredths. The next one says -25 hundredths compared to negative, in parentheses, -75 hundredths. We've learned in 6th grade that anytime you have something outside of the parentheses, you should distribute it to what is inside the parentheses. And when you have a negative and a negative, it ends up making that number positive. So this is actually a -25 hundredths compared to a positive 75 hundredths, which again makes our job really simple because we're just looking at negative and positive. All right, in the last example it says, order the numbers from least to greatest. So again, we always encourage students to look for, do you have a positive, one positive that's sticking out that you can automatically put at one end of your number line? And in this case I do. My 3/5 is a positive number, the other two are negative. So I know if I'm going from least to greatest, I want my 3/5 to be the last number in my number line because it's definitely the largest since it is the only positive number. So now I need to decide which one is bigger and smaller in regards to -1/4 and -1/8. Now I could look at my number line resource, but I don't have fourths written up there, so I might just have to do some comparing myself. So when I think about 1/4 versus 1/8 and where they would be on the negative number line, I could also compare these by making the denominators the same. I know that 4 times 2 would give me 8. Anything I do to the bottom, I must do to the top. So this is the same as -2/8. When I think about -1/8 and -2/8, and I'm trying to think about where that would be in regards to the number line and how far away it would be, okay, -1/8 is going to be closer to 0 because it comes before negative 2/8. So it is actually larger than my negative 2/8 or my negative 1/4. I want to take it back to that 1/4 form, even though they're equivalent. Because I know that that's confusing sometimes for students when you're looking at negative numbers. The larger they get on the negative end of the number line, the less that they are. That's confusing to them sometimes, but remember that negative sign, anytime we're moving this way on the number line, moving to the left, our numbers are getting smaller. So if I'm moving from the smallest number to the greatest number, my answer would be negative 1/4, negative 1/8, and then 3/5 because it's positive. All right, another way to kind of figure that out is to have your student actually draw a number line and to make a number line with fourths and really think about and visualize where that negative 1/8 would fall and where the negative 1/4 would fall. If you have any other questions about lesson 9.6, make sure to see your math teacher.